So a few days ago, I got to see the early screening of Captain America: A Brave New World. After seeing review bombs drop left and right prior to this movie dropping, I tried going in with the most neutral mindset I possibly could. Because though I hate to admit, I low-key don't want to see the MCU fall off. It's in a rough state, we'll be real. Though I don't want to see the MCU fall off, that does not mean I condone the slop they've been putting out in recent times. And before you go freaky mode on me, I'm not counting Deadpool vs. Wolverine. In my mind, that's a GTA cheat code. They phoned in the Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman carry, and that's okay to me. I just want less bad and more bangers? I feel like that's fair. Before we dive in, I just want to warn you guys, this is going into spoiler territory, so do what you will with that information. Now that being said, the political action drama that is Captain America: Brave New World is not a banger. But in truth, it wasn't the worst thing I've seen in the world. Now this is going to be the rare occasion, without a dash of irony, that I'm going to say this movie is mid. Not the internet's definition of the word mid. I mean just straight down the middle, not too bad, not terrible. It's definitely not the third worst Marvel movie, but it's not really anything groundbreaking. Definitely not something that would get everybody flocking back into the arms of the MCU. I can tell you the pre-release review bombs are a little OD. Based on the articles, you would have thought this movie was unwatchable, and it does have a lot of flaws, but it does have some good bits, and I'll get into those a little bit later. However, I think I'm going to start this off with all the bad things about the movie. Firstly, I'll get into the obvious. This was a Frankenstein of a movie. Just some of the scenes looked real awkward. I heard this movie went through a lot of reshoots, so going into this, it was sort of an expectation. It was very apparent they had just taken out the bits in the movie they didn't like, and they, did a little filming, and then they added those new bits into the movie. It was just a bit weird. And this would make for some shots that were just out of place. Like I would be locked in on a sequence and it would cut over to another shot and it would just look entirely green screened or lit up in a different way. It was almost cartoonish, but in a odd, distracting, low quality type of way. I was getting Thor Love and Thunder flashbacks. Now, most people will go into this movie with the corny Marvel quipping in mind. I'm going to tell you right now, they're definitely in the movie. I'm not going to walk you into the gamer compound and tell you that there's no Mountain Dew in the fridge. It goes without saying. One that quickly comes to mind is the Bucky cameo scene. It takes place where Sam Wilson's watching his close friend have surgery and he might die. Bucky walks in, he does a speech, he brings the morality up, and then just starts acting goofy. And you could tell this is supposed to be a big scene in the movie, which just kind of gives you the landscape of where Marvel's at right now. Like it's 2025 and we're looking forward to that Bucky Barnes scene. Other than this scene and a few others, a lot of the jokey jokes really take place early in the movie, which is fine by me because the later the movie goes, the more of a serious tone it takes. But to me, the odd scenes weren't really the low point of the movie. It was more so the villains. The big threat in the film for Sam Wilson is the Serpent Society. They're supposed to be the group lurking in the shadows, meddling with international affairs, and turning everybody against each other. I think they kind of do this group a little dirty in this movie. I mean, just looking at Sidewinder alone, who's played by Giancarlo Esposito, amazing actor. I think he's way too OP for this kind of character. They just probably brought him in and said, yeah, Gus Fring, but Punisher, please. He did a good enough job making him seem menacing, but I think that's more of a testament to his talents. But we're not talking about where the real troubles lie unless we're talking about Samuel Stearns, who's the main villain in the movie. Now, I'm not sure who in the writing room decided, you know what, we should make a direct sequel to the 2008 Incredible Hulk movie, the movie with nearly an entirely different cast, and we're gonna make it a Captain America sequel. But here we are. Now, if you're not caught up on the lore, Samuel Stearns was in the previous movie and he was affected by the gamma radiation, but instead of turning him into a wrecking ball of a beast like the Hulk, he just turned super smart and funny looking. He's supposed to have like this light Yagami, I know what you're gonna do before you do it type of thing, but nothing really works out, so he just kind of looks like an idiot. And when the plans go wrong, he just does a 180 every time and it's just like, well, I know that was supposed to happen.
Oh, yeah, I knew this was happening.
Did you?
Yeah.
So you catch her?
Yeah, I know this. I know this is happening.
Okay.
Thank you.
He's just like if a weeaboo was trying to be like Yagami in real life. His first scheme in the movie is where he gets Sam Wilson's friend brainwashed to kill President Ross, and then he just expects Sam Wilson to not react. Give him some space. Give him some space. He didn't calculate it. Don't worry. Even at the final part of the movie, he just turns himself in and it's just like, this is how it was supposed to go all along. Like 15 minutes ago, you were just freaking out about how your whole plan to like sabotage the US and Japan's relations failed. Like, I understand his main scheme was to expose Thunderbolt Ross and to turn him into Red Hulk and start a panic, but why place all of this plot fodder in and just get to the point? Like, I don't understand why this movie had to make the main villain look like an absolute fool. And I don't know what it was, if it was the way they dressed him or his general stature, but he gives me the most radiant Discord mod energy I've ever seen in a movie. So basically, if you, let's say you like mess with me, I'm gonna brainwash your friend to kill the president. Well, you got him out of jail? Well, I wanted that to happen. Anyways, like I said before, I don't entirely understand why they wanted to make a sequel to a 17-year-old movie where they could have just retconned and nobody would care. It definitely put the confusion cap on me. But let's get into the last issue of the movie, and that's that I 100% think that Red Hulk should have been kept a secret until the movie got released. I don't really know what prompted Marvel to show their hand on this one, but I think it took away on some genuine theater hype. Now, they're probably just scared that they were gonna be losing out on some box office numbers, but it really took away from the movie for me. Sure, the movie has its flaws, but for those diehard MCU fans that show up anyway, I think it would have been a good reward for them, and the word would have spread, so the people that were a little less interested in seeing the movie probably would have had more interest and would have went. Even in the film, they act like they're unraveling this big secret until the Red Hulk transforms. Even knowing that it was coming, I still got a rush seeing the transformation, and a lot of people in my theater were getting pretty hyped. It was a big moment. And even just upon seeing it, I quickly imagined how it would be if we went into that scene without knowing anything. No Red Hulk trailer, no Red Hulk marketing, none of that. Motherfuckers would be doing triple somersaults in the theater. They would be going insane. You remember the clips. Theaters giving a standing ovation to Harrison Ford getting juice to the fucking gills. It would be a grand time. I think the lack of trust in word of mouth and their ability to garner hype with scenes like these, it really came to their detriment. And it doesn't help that Red Hulk only has about 4 minutes of screen time in the movie. I mean, you've basically seen everything you had to see of him already in the trailers if you haven't seen the movie yet. The way that they resolve the Red Hulk fight is just ridiculous to me. I mean, anybody could conclude that Sam Wilson, somebody who decided not to take the super soldier serum, would not be able to physically defeat the Red Hulk. So when the movie decides that Sam Wilson just talks Red Hulk off the ledge and calms him back down, it's terribly predictable, but it's exactly what happens. And in saying this, I think this shines a very glaring issue, and that's that they play it too safe with their villains. I just don't think they add enough weight to what they do. I think if we're talking about the Red Hulk fight scene, I'll tell you what would have made it much more interesting. In the fight, Sam Wilson's literally getting beat to a pulp. He's like fighting within an inch of his life at this point. He's barely in it. I say, let the Red Hulk defeat him. Let him beat the crap out of him, or at least set up a scene where Sam Wilson can narrowly escape. Maybe if we're talking about a better Bucky Barnes cameo scene, Bucky slides in there with his metal arm. Bah, boo, bah. He fends off Red Hulk while Sam gets to make his escape. Very reluctantly, but he escapes. Bucky Barnes stays back and fends off the Red Hulk. Red Hulk starts beating up Bucky Barnes, and it could just cut there. I don't care. I mean, it's either that or Red Hulk just beats Sam Wilson up, leaving him in critical condition, and Red Hulk just jumps away and proceeds to try fucking everything up in his path. And if we want to press the issue even further, like, let Samuel Stern succeed in everything that he tries to do. Let the Serpent Society successfully pit almost every country against the US. You know, have people walking out of the theater wondering, what's actually going to happen next? I feel like walking out of this movie, there was just no wonder to it. They throw Samuel Stearns in the raft, President Ross turns himself in, and Sam Wilson's just there at the end of the movie like, we did it, boys. Another great adventure. It's just nothing interesting. It's way too safe, and I just wish there was weight to these movies, because if you think back to the heyday of Marvel when they're dropping Infinity War and Endgame, that's literally how they end Infinity War. Thanos beats everybody. I'm not saying let's wrap up every Marvel movie with these villains always win type of endings. At least for this one, where it almost seems like a textbook Captain America movie with recycled plot lines and things that we've seen before. Let's throw in some new sauce, something people don't expect. But that concludes the things I didn't like about the movie. Let's talk about the things I did like. To start, I thought Harrison Ford was just outperforming everybody. I think he did his best to make his character as compelling as possible, walking the tightrope of previously being a hot-headed wartime general that just wants to nuke everybody and a leader worthy of trust from his country. You know, my boy put in overtime for that redemption arc, and I gotta respect it. And I think Anthony Mackie did great in this movie as well. Though I don't think they've achieved the total separation from him and Chris Evans's Captain America yet. But that's not entirely his fault. That's mostly because he's just plopped in the middle of a Hulk storyline. If he wasn't sidelined in his own story like he was here, his shine would have been much more prominent. Joaquin Torres also returns in this movie, the naive yet charming sidekick who takes up the Falcon mantle. Him and Cap have a fun chemistry together that I really wouldn't mind seeing more of. I feel like this movie actually killed it with the action scenes as well. The way they introduce Captain America in the first scene is just fun. You got bro tossing the shield around, fucking he has that Wakanda power in his wings, and they do a little when he lands, blasts all those bad guys away. It's just some good old Marvel fun. I can't knock it. And that sends me right into the fight with Captain America and Red Hulk. Clearly, this was the big moment in the film that it's all built up for, and it totally paid off in a sense. I mean, I'd be lying if I said their fight wasn't epic as hell. Sitting in the theater watching Cap versus Red Hulk 1v1 go down, and Red Hulk is just leveling the White House. Bro gets him with the quick thunderclap, like, oh my gosh. Hitting the super jump, fucking if Marvel Rivals Iron Man was watching this movie, he'd be getting PTSD. And like I mentioned before, watching that transformation scene hit was way too good. And I'm not really going to stop nerding out there because they finally introduced adamantium into these movies. Yeah, you know that celestial island that people on Twitter were complaining that Marvel was ignoring? Yeah, it turns out that thing's loaded with adamantium. And to get into the plot of the movie, every country wants that shit. Japan fucking speed runs in there, starts mining that shit. And that sends us to the beginning of the movie where Cap and Falcon stop a black market sale for the adamantium by the serpents, and they recover it and bring it to the US. And that's where they hold the whole summit where President Ross almost gets shot at. They caught my boy in 4K, get framed, sucker, blah blah blah. Lore dump aside, the introduction of adamantium in the MCU had me pretty amped, I'm not gonna lie. X-Men baby, here we come! Baby, I'm playing on you tonight. I also just like the little added drama into all this. As if there wasn't enough fuss about vibranium, which as we know is exclusively used and kept by the Wakandans. Now we have adamantium in the fold, which is stated in the movie that it's supposed to be stronger than vibranium. So you know what that means. Shit's gonna go down, son. You don't think everybody's not gonna want some of that sweet, sweet addy gold? I think the conclusion I've come to with this movie is that although it's riddled with awkward scenes, cringe villains, and isn't necessarily the banger comeback movie that Marvel needs, there were some fun bits that didn't make it feel like a total waste of time, and there's some very small seeds planted in the universe which can really get Marvel movies back in the right direction at least. By no means is the film perfect, and with its fair share of pros and cons, I can at least confidently say that it's going. Overall rating, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. I'm feeling good today. I think if I stub my toe later or something, or I'm not feeling all too good, a low 5. I told you, it's the true definition of mid. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this quick review. I've always stuck to gaming on here, but this felt like a fun video to make as a prime Marvel movie enjoyer. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. It helps a great deal, and please let me know in the comments how you felt about the movie and what you'd like to see next. I'm currently watching the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man series, as well as Invincible Season 3 as they move along, so I'll likely be making videos on those. Kevin, you son of a bitch, I haven't forgot about you. Fantastic Four better be good. I'm huffing my last bit of copium for this shit. Do not let us down, please.